Sessions. I'm your host, Jean Newell, and in the studios with me today is my co-host, Jonathan Lack. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Jean. Glad to be back.
And Jonathan, you are here. Let's go ahead and tell about all the different parts of real estate that you represent, because, boy, we fill the gamut.
Well, Jean, I'm with Lack & Lack Charter, which is a transactional real estate law firm. I am a real estate attorney, but we also own Waterview Title Services, which is a full-service title insurance agency, and Waterview Realty Services, which is a real estate brokerage, of which you are one of my fine agents.
That's right. And we always like to cover all kinds of things on our show. We always say everything from foreclosures to Feng Shui. Because I always say our show's kind of like Angie's List meets HGTV. We want to utilize all of our experts here locally to help those people that might be in a do-it-yourself project, or they just need experts to ask questions to. We've covered everything from foreclosures to Feng Shui. And we've had a lot of different guests on, but even FEMA. We've had FEMA on. We've had economic development. And today we're going to be talking to a tile expert who's going to help those people that are thinking about selling their home and exactly what they might need to do to get it in the right format and be up to date on their home so it'll show well and get the highest price possible. And we're going to be talking about other things to do with tile. And why don't we just go ahead and we'll introduce our guest right now. I'm very happy to have Will Brunson. Is that right?
Brunison. Yes, ma'am.
He's the general manager with Island Tile and Marble Incorporated in Melbourne, right on South Harbor City Boulevard. Just about 2 or 3 blocks south of 192. Wonderful showroom. Will, go ahead and tell us a little about your background and your history and with Island Tile, so we can kind of set the mood for what we're going to be talking about.
All right. Well, I started off in the commercial construction industry, mostly did demolition, and I found that the commercial industry was just a little bit too cold. There was not enough of a personal touch. So I tagged along, and I met Mr. Cliff Hirsch. I was always astounded by his ability to stay in business and have such a successful company in the Melbourne area, which is home to so many businesses that are up and down and up and down. But for some reason, his company always seemed to stay the same. So I went and talked to him, and I was offered a position with him, and ever since then, we've experienced growth over the last 2 years, and we've been slowly making a lot of great strides. Yes.
How long has Island Tile been in business?
We've been in business since 1984. So wow. Cliff Hirsch actually started the business 30 years ago. It was out of a 1-bedroom apartment in Melbourne, Florida, and slowly, one pallet at a time, he would buy, sell, and then install the material with his own crew, and they were doing bathroom remodels. So over time, word got out how good the quality of the tile and how good the quality of his installation was, and it really grew into quite the business.
I remember Cliff years ago when I was working for a lot of the custom home builders, and what a great showroom. I was in it the other day. And if you don't have a clue what you want to do, just take a stroll through Island Tile's showroom, and it will open up your eyes to all kinds of things. And it's quite reasonable. Boy, you have some great prices. You also have the outlet store right next door. And I was very happy with and pleased with the associates there. I got more information about tile. Then I knew quite a bit. I didn't realize how much I did know, but boy, they really informed me of exactly what kinds of tiles, because different tiles work differently in your home. People think, oh, tile's a tile, but it isn't. Could you tell us a little bit about what kinds of tiles are available and perhaps what's trending right now?
Sure, absolutely. Well, right now, what's trending in flooring is obviously wood look tile. I'm sure you've seen it in many of the homes that you've dealt with. And the biggest thing is just having products look more and more realistic. So whether it be a wood look tile or a marble look tile, any type of stone look to, be exact, everything is becoming more realistic. Mm-hmm. So 5 years ago, wood look tile was a 6x24 inch plank with a pressed edge, meaning you'd run about a 3/16 or an 1/8 inch grout line, and it would not be a perfect plank by any means, and the pattern would be repeated quite often. Now planks are scaling upwards of 8x48, 12x48, and they have a grout line that's about a 1/16 of an inch. So your house doesn't have a zigzag pattern going all throughout it.
Yeah.
So on top of the wood look tile becoming more realistic and being able to say, I would like a hickory look, or I'd like a maple look, or maybe even a wire brushed look, we can accommodate that in tile, but we can also do the same with Carrara, Calicata marble, any type of travertine, limestone, keystone, whatever it is that you're desiring in your house.
I know I was just thinking about this, and I think I mentioned it to you, that years ago when I grew up in South Florida, we had terrazzo floors, and that was just cement with a bunch of little, I guess, I don't know, it was glass, or what was terrazzo made up of? I don't know, little pieces of something that were in the terrazzo, this concrete, and that kept our homes cooler.
Sure.
And then the trend was to carpet everything and put vinyl down, and then shut up all the windows and put air conditioning. But sometimes what works in a northern atmosphere does not, or climate does not work in Florida. And I know one of the big things is the sand, and people always talk about having natural wood floors and so forth, but the sand just destroys the wood floors. Plus, I think with pets and so forth, it just doesn't last as long. So if you want that wood look, I was surprised you even have distressed wood that looks like barn siding. I thought that was really interesting. I took some photos of that. I was kind of impressed with that look. So no matter if you want that wood look, there's things out there to give you that same appearance of having that old world look, or even the cottage look from years ago, prior to carpeting, but yet you have the durability of tile.
Correct. We have everything from rustic and farmhouse to a hand scrape look that you'd have in $1 million house with some real wood floors. So,
well, why would you go with a tile over the wood? Again, just for the layperson out there, I want wood floors. I like wood floors. I want to have wood floors. I have seen and have been in homes with beautiful wood look tile, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and I was amazed by how good it looked and how realistic it looked. But why tile over wood? What's the advantages?
Sure. Well, I mean, off the bat, if you're just comparing wood and wood look tile, number one, you're not killing any trees to make a wood look tile. Number two, I would say that the important part of a wood look tile is remembering that when you get a wood product, unless you're spending upwards of $8 to $10 a square foot, you're not actually getting a real wood product. You're getting something that's been stained and treated to look like a certain type of wood product. And because it's made out of wood, it's a good selling point. But truthfully, tile is best because it has no maintenance. Once it's down, you have at least 30 years of wear life on your tile. I always stress to people, take your keys, do whatever you need to do, let your dogs, kids run on it, a sample of tile in your house, and see if it's something that works for you. I'm confident that it won't be scratched up and nothing will happen to it. And then number two, I would say it remains cooler. It is directly applied to your concrete floor as long as it's on your first floor, and concrete in Florida stays cool. And it also translates to having a cool tile floor. All you're having is a concrete, then mortar, and then tile to the top of that. So,
well, what about laminate? Where does laminate come into this picture?
Well, laminate is also along the lines of wood. I'd say wood is a little bit more durable, but it's cheaper to replace laminate than it is a wood. And, both of them have the problems with water, and Florida is notorious for being wet, and anybody who doesn't get their house wet is lying to you. No matter if it's a hurricane or if you have family over or you're coming back from the beach, doesn't matter. You're going to get your floors wet at some point.
You had said concrete, mortar, and then tile.
Correct.
And that's just for the plank tile because it's thicker, or don't you still have to put that kind of a coat?
Set.
Yeah, that, what do they call it, like an insulation?
Thin set.
Thin set, is that what they call it? It's kind of like a cushion of some sort for tile?
It depends on what kind of a job you're doing. Some people like to go ahead and do crack isolation membrane throughout the whole floor.
That's it, crack
but it's all depending on what the subfloor looks like. So if your house is 10 years old, when you remove the old product that's there, tile, wood, whatever it may be, if you see that there's a settlement crack, you can treat the settlement crack and then just go ahead and keep tiling the rest of it. Otherwise, it's an additional cost that's a little bit unnecessary to do.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Tell us a little bit about the makeup of tile. Boy, I tell you, I got a great education the other day when I was at Island Tile. Just a shout out there to Vinny, and I don't remember the other people that were there helping me. Who were there? Who was it that I talked to?
Josh, Jessica,
yes,
David. They're all great.
Right. They were great. And who'd ever think that there's different makeups of tile? What most people think of, I guess, as tile is ceramic tile that when in elementary school, if you ever worked with ceramics, you started with a clay source and then you baked it and then you put the glaze on and you baked it again. And I think most people understand tile that when you see a side section of the tile, it's usually kind of a reddish color, and then you've got the glaze on top. And that's just referred to as clay tile. Is that right?
That one would be ceramic tile.
That'd be ceramic tile.
Ceramic tile would be your traditional tile makeup. Ceramic actually comes in both white body and red body.
Okay.
So your normal subway tile, it looks white on the back. Sometimes people think they're porcelain, and they can be, but most of the time they're a white ceramic. It's a more lightweight tile that's easier to cut. And ceramic tile is it's a mixture of clays and other natural materials, and they are special clays that are mined from the earth, shaped, colored, and then fired in kilns. And ceramic tile, to sum up, is great for everyday use. But if you have a more active household, maybe a lot of pets, or you're prone to dropping something on your floors, per se, a commercial application, ceramic tile does not always have the same durability as a porcelain tile. But it's not, in modern day, it's not that much different than porcelain tile anymore. The biggest difference you're going to find is that ceramic tile is easier to cut if you're a installer. And when it does break, it tends to break in a different way than a porcelain tile. It tends to crumble more than have a straight crack through it. So fixing it is a little bit harder. Usually you have to replace it. But then if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, a ceramic tile is so much cheaper than a porcelain tile. And at the end of the day, you can go ahead and pop that tile out for no big deal. It's not a lot of money.
Well, let's talk about replacing tiles for a moment. So you're in your house and you've been there a few years, and then somebody drops something heavy and cracks a tile. What's involved in replacing it, and what do you recommend as far as storage of tiles or the ability to find replacement tiles?
Okay. Well, what I recommend is, of course, right off the bat, when you go ahead and buy tile, you want to go ahead and buy enough tile for your job. And there is a waste factor. So, our tile is shipped in from all over the world. So we do have tiles that get broken on pallets. It happens. So that is included in your, 7 to 10% waste factor, 15% if you're doing some type of pattern. But I always recommend to buy enough tile for your job. When you're done with the job, keep 3 or 4 boxes in your attic. That'll save you from any headaches that you can have in the future. I would say, as far as Island Tile goes, when we direct import something, we keep the product for anywhere between 3 and 5 years. After that, it's not necessarily that we don't want to continue carrying that tile anymore. It's that the manufacturer could have changed the tile, and production processes do change over time, as we see between a traditional white 12x12 tile and the long wood look planks that we have today.
I did want to ask you a little bit about porcelain. That's the same coloring throughout. Is that correct?
So there's a few different types of porcelain tile. Porcelain through body is what you're thinking of, and that just means that it has the same base color all the way through. It does not have the same picture printed all the way through, as the printers are not able to print that deep, yet at least. So porcelain tile, in a nutshell, is a newer form of ceramic tile. Italy did not have the same clay materials that Spain had in their backyard, so they went ahead and composed porcelain tile of fine porcelain clays, and they fired them at a much higher temperature than ceramic tiles. What that allows is for the porcelain tile to be a little bit more perfect in size and shape, and when you fire it for a longer time, the price goes up. For every tile that spends longer in the kiln, it's more energy, and it equates to a higher price.
It's more durable.
It is definitely more durable. So the process of making porcelain tile makes it so that it's more dense, less porous, and much harder and less prone to moisture and stain absorption than ceramic tiles are. So